Good morning, friends. How are you today? Today is Dia de los Muertos. So for those friends who are celebrating their ancestors, my best wishes to you. We are planting tulips today, and I will go over with you all of the varieties that I have. I keep looking over this way because they're in big boxes in the garage. But I also want to give you an update on the ranunculus, which we are doing tomorrow. I wanted to do them today, and they're looking great. They're ready to go. Most of them are. But we're having some stuff done at the house today, some work that came up, and so I can't leave. So we'll be doing the work here. So a couple things to update you on. Let's go take a look at the chickens. I want to show you how big they've gotten and talk about something that occurred to me on the way out to the coop this morning. First of all, it's a little chilly today. I don't know if you can see that, but I have Raynaud's syndrome. It's much better now than it was in my 20s, now that I'm 53. But this finger keeps going white and numb because it's a little chilly today. It was 38 again this morning, Fahrenheit, when we woke up. It's now about 43, so definitely chilly. So when I came out this morning to take care of the chickens, I was lamenting the big open empty space that was supposed to have brassicas and all that stuff in it. You know, the big empty garden. And then as I walked over here, instead of, usually I step over this bed because, you know, I don't like walking on my beds. But this time I actually stepped on it and I thought, you know what? This is the perfect time to completely reconfigure this whole garden space. The reason these are in row crops is that the flower farm used to be here, and I used to grow all of the flowers for the business here in this little space. They don't need to be like that anymore. This is my home garden where I'm having vegetables and fruits, and I've got, you know, this row of fruit trees here and some dahlias that need to be cut back. And I've got a couple fruit trees right here and some grapes. But otherwise, this is a big empty canvas. And the other thing I thought is, yes, I'm gonna have I have a new humane rat trap coming soon, and here's an example of them digging deep holes. The other thing is, you know, the rats eat through the irrigation tubing to get at the water. However, they do not do that to any of my other irrigation. So my spray irrigation that's up on little sprinkler heads, that's also on drip, but it's different than drip tape. They don't bother any of those. So I thought, maybe I'll just stop using drip tape in this front garden. There's no reason for me to use that anymore. And I could completely refigure this over the winter, plan it out for next year, how I want it to look. I could get really creative and do some really fun stuff. So I'm super excited. Not like I don't already have a bunch of projects going on. So this thing won't start until I've broken down everything at Fish Ranch and moved it all over, and everything at the new farm is all buttoned up. But in between our rainstorms, I think it would be fun to come out here and completely reshape this garden. So I'm really excited, and I don't have an idea yet what I'm going to do. That's going to take a lot of drawing and measuring and all that kind of stuff. So yet another bit of content to provide you guys over the winter, which usually I don't have much content over the winter. So, okay. Next is to check on the babies and the big girls. You can hear them. They're super excited. So this morning, when I came out, hi everyone. Someone, probably a rat, had gotten in here and knocked over the feed, and it was like buried literally under all these wood chips. So they were so hungry when I came in. So there's some pumpkin guts on the ground because I gave them a bunch of pumpkin guts because I made a pumpkin soup the other night. And they totally enjoy those. It's very healthy for them. But look how big the babies are. And once again, I don't think we have any roosters. I would probably know by now. So I'm still trying to come up with names for these two. The nice thing is you can easily tell them apart, which I would, you know, with these two gals here. One, this is a barred rock, and that's a cuckoo moran. Very hard to tell apart. I know now because of the way the cuckoo moran's pattern is a bit more fuzzy, you know, it's not distinct lines, but still kind of hard to tell. I know you guys want to play in the garden. But these two are very different. So that'll be good when I come up with a name. I do have a name for this pretty girl right here. She's a Buff Orpington. I'm just gonna call her Buffy. Buffy the Buff Orpington. She's the softest chicken I've ever felt. It's like velvet, her feathers, just incredibly soft. And then the Copper Moran here, this gal, her name is Margie. So sticking with, for the most part, the theme of, you know, like 50s housewife diner names. So now we have Buffy, Margie, Francine, that's Lucy, that's Flo, and that's Ethel. But I still don't have names for these two. So if you guys have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Okay, so here's my 2 boxes of tulip bulbs. This box is still all of those ranunculus that I collected from this year's crop, and I haven't even pre-sprouted them yet. And now we're getting kind of late in the season for me to do that. So I've decided that what we're going to do is plant all the new ones that I pre-sprouted, which is 700 ranunculus. We'll plant those, and the other ones I will pre-sprout in the early spring, and we'll put them out there. So I'm hoping by doing that, and this is all dependent on the weather, that I'll get an extension of blooms. Now, the risk is the weather warming up too soon, which has happened a few times. Last year, this year, it didn't do that at all. In fact, it stayed too cold for too long, but you just never know. So ranunculus stop flowering and kind of start to go dormant when temperatures start hitting above 80 degrees. So Fahrenheit. So, you know, I want to try to avoid that. But I have found in the past, like a couple years ago when I had the flower farm in the front, we were away for spring break, which was the first week of April, which is normally still like in the 60s, right? And that particular week, while we were out of town, we got a heat wave, and it literally went up to like 85 degrees for a couple days. And I thought, oh no, because I hadn't actually started too much harvest on them. They were just starting to ripen the blooms. And so a friend who was watching the garden for me, I said, why don't we put a shade cloth over everything and, you know, water them down? Because the other advice is to keep the soil moist, because that will keep the soil temperature down. So we did that, and they survived. But that was maybe 200 ranunculus. Doing that for over 700, and in this case, I'll have a new batch, so we'll be probably around 1,400 ranunculus. That's a lot more work. So yeah, so I'm gonna take a chance. We'll see. I know I'll get ones as long as no natural disaster happens. We'll still have 700 ranunculus to pick from, but I'm hoping that this second batch will mean I'll have an extended season of ranunculus. Like I said, it's going to totally depend on the weather. All right, let's look and see what I got tulip bulb wise. I will try to put photos up here, and whenever I do that, I always try to put, well, I always do. I put the photo credit in the description box. I definitely don't want to get in trouble for using somebody else's work. All right, let's open these boxes and I'll show you what we got. Okay. All right. Oh, and thankfully I asked for these to come in a crate, which is, I don't even know if it's extra. If it is extra, it's not much, but You know, these crates are worth their weight in gold. Oh, and this is so heavy, speaking of weight. All right, so in this first crate, and this is the shipping list for everything, here we have a bag, 100 Apricot Pride. Oh, and some of these have pictures. I'll show you those. 100 Apricot Pride. This one is, oh, I think they all have pictures. This one is 100 Palmyra. It's a double, and it's an early flowering tulip. And you can see the picture there. Oops. This bag was open, just dumped them everywhere, but that's all right. I can just load it back up. You will notice on those tags it says pre-cooled. That is super important because I am in a high zone, so zone 9B. If I don't pre-cool these tulips, and I used to do it myself in my refrigerator when I was planting smaller amounts, if these don't pre-cool for, usually it's 10 to 12 weeks, there's a good chance they won't produce. Tulips need a chill period. And so when you order from these bigger companies, these came from Leo Burby, but you can get them color blends, etc. You can ask them to be pre-chilled, and then they will ship them to you based on the best timing to put them in the ground in your area. This is another Apricot Pride. So let's see, I'll have 200 of those. Yeah, 200 Apricot Pride. And I've got 100 Black Hero. Oh, I don't know what it is about the black tulips. I just really like them. 100 Black Hero and Snow Crystal, which I grow every year. This is a fringed tulip. It looks like an ice cream cone. I love them. All right, I have 100 of those. I think most of these I only got 100 on. I got 200 Apricot Pride because that color is very popular. I got 200 Double Early Bellica, which we haven't seen yet, and Angelique, which is another really popular one. All right, so let's open this second box. Yay for the crates. I mean, the more crates I can have, the better, because I use them for everything. Okay, so, and it's so funny to see the different sizes on some of these tulips. All right, this one, gosh, it's so nice these have photos on them. This is the Bellica, so I got 200 of these. This one is a late blooming variety, but you can see it's like a red with white, or it's a white with red. Okay, and then Angelique. This is a very popular one. It's beautiful. Let's see if I can get this out so I can show it to you. It's like a really blousy pink tulip. All right, and then Dance Line, which is a late blooming variety. Let me get the end of this bag so it doesn't dump out. Here we go. You can see that picture. And more Angelique, which I think, okay, that goes in this bag. And then and more Bellica. So the final one, it came in a display box for some reason. Maybe that's just what they had. This is a fringed tulip called Daytona. But look at that, how white and beautiful that is. So that's what I've got for tulips for this year. Compared to a lot of flower farmers, this isn't very much, but for me, it's a lot. So we have, let's see, we have 1,000 tulips to plant. And they were pre-cooled at 5 degrees Celsius. So they are ready to go in the ground. Now we just have to decide where we're going to put them, where they're going to get the best growing period, I still have plenty of crates that I can plant them in. But I need to go out and check on that one bed where I think I'm going to put them. I can fit a lot in one bed. Okay, so I'm looking right now at the bed that I think we're going to put the majority of the tulips in. This is the only bed in this 4-bed system that I have up here that has never had tulips in it. Okay, and it's empty right now. This year I had onions and peppers and beans and all kinds of stuff in it. This bed currently has all of our garlic for the year, and of course still some beautiful marigolds, which will stay here until frost, and then they'll kind of turn black and die, and I'll pull them out. But I just think they're beautiful and they're going to stay while they can. Oh, before we go on, look at that salvia. That is a single plant. And every year I cut it back to the ground, and every year it comes back like that. Look at that. It's just glorious. Okay, so garlic bed, there's nothing in here and there's nothing in here, but these were both full of tulips last year. So why am I avoiding planting where I've had tulips before? Because of a thing called tulip fire. It's called that because the way it looks on the plant can resemble a plant hummingbird that's been scorched. So it'll get like wrinkled, withered leaves and twisted, curled appearance, and like it'll look in places like it's been on fire. It is caused by a botrytis fungus, and it's related to gray mold. And so it's also called tulip fire because it spreads very rapidly. Once the soil is infected, it's there for a good 3 to 5 years. So a lot of flower farmers say 7 years. Don't plant tulips in the same place unless 7 years has gone by. And for us, that reason, so for those of you who have tulips in your ground in lower zones where they're perennial and they just come back year after year, it's a different kind of situation. For flower farmers, we plant them as annuals and we pull them up bulb and all when we harvest them. So there's nothing left behind usually. Occasionally I'll find a few bulbs that I didn't get, and they'll, you know, they'll come up maybe again. That's the other reason why it's hard to grow tulips. We definitely can't grow them as perennials in this zone. It's too warm. They don't get that chill period. So if they come back the second year, they don't look very good, and you'll have very few actually return. Narcissus, or daffodils, on the other hand, they naturalize just fine in our area. They don't need as cold of temperatures. So, sorry, I'm looking at the salvia that I just showed you. There's a bunch of hummingbirds in it right now, and they're so fast, I don't know if I can get one. This is a ruby-throated. I can tell by looking at it. Let's see if I can zoom in for you. I don't know, I can kind of see her or him. So beautiful. We're very fortunate here to have a lot of hummingbirds. We really enjoy them. Lots of varieties. Okay, so I've got my bed picked out that I'm going to put as many as possible in. I think I'm actually just going to put the rest of them in crates since I have enough crates, and that way I don't have to worry about. I thought, well, I could put them in, you know, the row crops area, but now that I know I'm going to reconfigure that whole garden, I don't want to have to work around planted things. So we'll use this big bed. It's 4x4. And the reason I know I can fit so many in, when you plant tulips, and I'll show you, you plant them, when you're planting them for an annual cut, like for cut flowers, when you're going to pull them up, we plant them, we say it's like eggs in a carton. They're that close together. Because they don't need room to spread because they're going to be pulled up. And so knowing that, you can fit a lot in a single bed. So what I'm going to need to do is prepare this bed. I'm actually going to have to pull out. So last time I did this, in the other beds, I sectioned the bed in half so that I could move the soil from one end to the other, plant the tulips in this half, recover them with that, then do the same thing with the other side, because that way I don't have to completely pull all the soil out. But we're going to be planting these quite deep. And I find when I plant them really deep in these beds, they don't get messed with by the squirrels, who absolutely love tulip bulbs. So I need to pull up the irrigation, pull up these tags and stuff, and then start digging this bed. And it's kind of wet, so it's going to be interesting. And I might top it off with some compost that I'll grab at the farm later today, but we'll definitely cover it with straw. Okay, I had to switch cameras, I'm sorry. I had to use my phone to time lapse that because my camera that I film these videos with completely overheats frequently, and it's like 48 degrees outside. It's just ridiculous. You can't have it in direct sun, all that stuff. Anyway, time for a new camera. But, so we're done with the bed. So you saw I cut the bed in half basically, pulled out the soil on one side, put the tulips in, and then what I do is I break up the soil and sprinkle it on top first before I pull it over. That's just to keep them upright, because if you just kind of pull a whole bunch of soil on top, you might knock some of them sideways, and they really do need to be upright, pointy end up. And then I did the same thing on the other side, and we put some straw on top. This is not necessary, but I like it. It's a nice mulch. Also, the nice thing about the straw is I can tell if anything's been digging in there when I've got straw on top. Also to let you know, we built these beds, gosh, I think in 2018. They're made out of redwood and they all have 1/4-inch mesh on the bottom, hardware mesh on the bottom, so nothing can tunnel in from below. And then how cool is this? Because these tags are laminated, I just stapled them to some stakes, and now I know exactly what's growing there, and I can actually see the picture of it, which is awesome. Also, it reminds me whether it's like double early, double late, etc. So makes it a little bit easier to plan harvest. Now, there is a way to no-dig tulips, and in the future out at the farm, I will be doing this. Basically, what you do is in your row crops, you build a temporary wood frame around it, like a raised bed. You lay the tulips on the surface and then you bury them with more soil. And that way you don't have to disturb the soil. You don't have to dig it up at all. Normally, I am pretty much no dig, no till. In these beds cases, I find they tend to get compacted, which is crazy because we don't walk around on them or anything. But I think just because there's so much clay in our soil and there's a lot of water running through here, and even though I top them up every year, they do, and you can tell the soil is black, it's very healthy, but I do notice they tend to get compacted, which is very unusual for no till, no dig. So I don't mind so much digging up this little 4x4 patch to do the tulips. Plus I found a couple of potatoes in there that I'll use for seed potatoes in the spring. Anyway, Now, this bed is holding 400 tulips. I could put more down the very center because that area kind of didn't get used because of the way I piled the dirt, but I would disrupt the other tulips. I'm pretty assured of that. So instead, I have more than enough crates to plant the rest of them in crates, and we'll just keep them in here. I probably will even just lay them on top of these beds for the interim because nothing's growing in them right now, or will be. I mean, I might plant some carrots in one. Anyway, I could put a lot of crates. I could probably put 4 crates in one bed, but that will keep them safe from deer. And I might, in the crates case, I might put some hardwood cloth or something over the top. We'll just have to see if anybody tries to get in and dig in them. Now, the reason I'm not going to plant the crates up right this moment is that I need a couple things. I need newspaper or something to line them with so that the soil stays in, especially when we get rain. And I need soil. So I'm going to run some errands, go out and get that stuff, and then when we come back, I'll show you how you do it in crates. It's basically the same thing, but the nice thing about this is you guys could do this anywhere. You don't need a big garden. You could have a balcony and do this and have a big display of tulips, and you could, you know, do many varieties in one. You can also do this in pots and stuff too, but yeah, so we'll be right back when I get all that stuff, and we'll get these others planted up. And we're back. It's the afternoon. I've got everything I think I need to do this project to finish planting these bulbs. So I'll show you what I've got and how I'm going to do it. Every year I do it a slightly differently, but I think this is gonna work great, especially considering my rodent problems. And at the end of the video, the ratinator just arrived, and so we'll set that up in the garden. I'm tempted to do it right here because there's clearly been tunneling here. I mean, look at that mounding of earth. But where I know we'll catch them, because every night if I come out to check on the chickens, they scatter from that area because that's where the feed is. So I'm gonna put it down by the chicken coop, and I think we'll catch a bunch of those guys overnight. All right, so for the remainder of the tulip bulb project. Okay, so here's where I'm going to leave these crates for the season because I'm not going to plant anything in here until after the tulips are done. Generally, when our tulips are blooming, it is still way too cold to put anything else in the ground. So we've got 5 crates here. I've got a crate there. We've got the 400 that we planted in here, and then I've got another crate there. So 1,100 total bulbs. And I said I usually line, before I said I usually line these crates with newspaper, which is true. But I thought it would be a good idea to line them with a very large piece of frost cloth, not for frost prevention, but if I have a big piece, I can line it, fill it with soil, keep the soil from falling through, and there'll be the piece over the top that I can then staple in place, and that will prevent anything from digging in to get to the tulip bulbs. This will let water and air and light through. So, you know, once they start really coming up, then I can take the frost cloth off, no big deal. I can just pull back the top and it'll be fine. But considering we're supposed to be getting some heavy rains this winter, I want to make sure that not all of the soil washes through. All right, so one other thing I want to show you is the difference between tulip crates and lily crates. This is a tulip crate. It is 7 inches high. This is a lily crate. It is 9 inches high. And the difference is that lilies need to be planted very, very deep because they form roots along their stem. Tulips are not like that. They can't be planted super shallow because they do need some support from the soil, but basically with bulbs like this, you can go about 2 lengths of the bulb. So if your bulb is this high, you go down that deep. And so, you know, maybe you got a 2-inch bulb, 2-inch high bulb, you go down 4 inches, and that should probably do it. So, all right. So I've already cut my fabric. I'm just going to set you guys up to watch. We are going to line these, fill them with some soil, place down the bulbs, and then cover them up, and we should be good to go. Okay, that's it. 1,100 tulips planted today. You just saw the time lapse, but let's review real quick. So this morning I planted 400 in here. We've got the Bellica and the apricot pride in here. Then in this crate I've got the snow crystals. In this crate I've got this really cool double early called Palmyra. And then over here we've got Dance Line. That one back there is Daytona, which I haven't labeled yet because it didn't have one with it. It was on a box. Then we've got Angelique, and this one is Black Hero, and this one's Angelique. Now apparently I cut the cloth long enough that I was able to tuck it underneath the crates, and so, you know, rats, if they really want to, easily they could chew through that. But I haven't found that rats go after my tulips. Squirrels, on the other hand, do. And just like in the backyard, if I cover with this stuff, they can't dig, and so they don't. Also, I just sprayed the heck out of this area with peppermint oil. Smells really good. And now, before we wrap up, let's get the ratinator out, see how that works, and set it up in the garden. Sun's going down. Okay, so here it is. Here's the box. Humane live trap, no poisons, says it can catch up to 21 rats in just one setting. It even recommends, you know, the preferred bait, grains, tuna, or dog and cat food. I actually don't have any chicken scratch, so I might end up using dog and cat food. Okay, so here's the trap inside this container, which is meant to help you carry them off somewhere without having to get them, make a mess in your vehicle. So we've got, this looks like it's the bait door. All right, here's the entrance tunnel. They go in here. When they step here, this flap closes. So now they're in there, they're trying to get at the bait, and then they can't get out because this is the potential exit and it's sealed. So I think, since I'm not in a hurry because there's nothing growing out there right now, I think I am gonna do this, like, bait it, you know, for a couple days with everything open so they can get in and out and they'll get used to it. And then I'll do a heavy bait on the night that I want to set them and catch them, because that way they won't be afraid of this thing. I want to catch as many as possible to relocate them. All right, so I think I'm going to put a thing of cat food in there. That will be very strong smelling. And let's just see what happens. If I come back in the morning, it should be gone. Okay, so here's the trap. The back door is open. It's right next to that tunnel they've dug, and this is where we see them running at night along this wooden fence line. So they said this is the best place to put it, not just out in the middle of nowhere. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so tomorrow is Ranunculus Day, and I'm excited about that. We have about 700 to plant tomorrow. A little bit different process because they're going directly in the ground. And then I think we'll pretty much be done planting out at the new farm. I might still direct sow some things, you know, in the next week or so. The thing is, like I said, they don't usually germinate for me until like March. However, the last couple places I've direct sown have not been in full sun, because like this front garden doesn't get full sun all day long in the wintertime because the sun is so low and the redwoods block it. And then out at the farm where I direct sowed was, well, in a full sun place. Yeah, so I don't know. I might give it a try. Seed is inexpensive. I might do a trial and then do it again in the spring. You know, we'll see what happens. So, all right. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today while we planted 1,100 tulips. I think that's the most I've planted so far. Should be a very colorful spring between the tulips and the daffodils. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.